So we've looked at the basic scriptural passages we have to contend with. Within some of those passages are the seeds of the natural law reasoning and the traditional reasoning about homosexuality within the church, and we need to deal with those as well. So first one is the obvious biological difference between male and female, between a human man and a human woman. Obviously different sexual organs which have different complementary functions to each other, and that difference is thought to mean something in terms of how we ought to live. Now, in saying that, and how we ought to live highlights a controversy or a difficulty about natural law reasoning, which is, can and is the way things just are relate to an ought? Or better stated, can we derive an ought? We ought to do this because this is how things are. Can we derive an ought from an is? And many philosophers have thought you really can't derive an ought from an is. Is just the way things are, but it doesn't specify a particular moral claim. Within natural law reasoning about sexuality, there is a belief that the biological difference between male and female does give rise to an ought. We have also, as part of this reasoning, the ubiquity of the male-female dyad in nature as a whole. So we look at all sorts of different kinds of animals, certainly in the world of mammals, and even in the world of reptiles and amphibians to a large extent, fish, all kinds of different animals. There's this pervasiveness of the male-female dyad and difference. And part of the natural law reasoning is that this, again, is part of creation overall. Now, again, of course, you can step back and critique this from a scientific perspective and say, well, you can sort of just talk about that as a contingency of evolution, and B, you can say that there are species and organisms that don't have the same kind of male-female dyad, and then you can also say, even though there are many species which do have this male-female dyad, can you draw an ethical imperative from it? Those are all arguments. This is the claim that's advanced here. Another important piece of this is that the sexual function within nature is procreative. So the sexual function is always tied, or is pervasively tied within the created order to procreation. And of course, by definition, homosexual sexual activity is not in and of itself, cannot be in and of itself procreative. Of course, a homosexual couple can adopt a child, can have artificial insemination, can have a surrogate, all sorts of other ways in which homosexual couples can bring children into the world and take care of children, but the sexual act itself can't be procreative, and that is seen within this natural law tradition as an important ethical difference. And then a key piece is that, as we sort of looked at last week, that the family is an essential part of the fabric of society, so that having a different definition of the family or a different kind of family that doesn't fundamentally involve a man and woman who are committed to each other for life with bringing forth children really impinges on the fabric of society. Okay, so those are the natural law traditional views that have been an important part of the fabric of Christian theological ethics for a very long time, really for a couple thousand years, although it is fair to say that homosexuality and what we think of as homosexual marriage was not really on the radar screen. Homosexual conduct certainly was.